Estamos aqui para mais um episódio de Hub Talks especial de Fenaló e hoje acompanhados aqui de uma convidada bastante especial, Dixon, que é representante da Legal Tech Talk, uma Fenaló por si de Londres, e Rui Caminha, nosso CEO do Vitta, que já nos acompanha de longa data. Esse episódio será gravado em inglês, então para quem não fala o idioma, vou pedir para que você ative a legenda aqui do nosso podcast. So switching to English so that Joe can understand us. Hi, Joe. It is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation.
Oh, thank you. It's really great to be here.
Awesome. Are you enjoying Fenaló so far?
I am very, very much. It's having been to loads of different events globally, I think this is really eye-opening and interesting to see in a totally different market.
So for people who are unfamiliar with Legal Tech Talk, we would like to compare it to Fenaló. It is also a legal fair in its sense. So can you tell us just a little bit about Legal Tech Talk, what it is and what it brings to the legal field?
Yeah, absolutely. So Legal Tech Talk is an event that we launched in London this year in June. It is, a lot of people I've heard say it's the Fenaló of Europe. It is, but it's also quite different. I think the size and the scale of what I'm seeing here is just insane, really. Like you think of Brazil as this South American country and you don't quite, understand how large the landscape is. But yeah, Legal Tech Talk, we launched in June this year. We had 2,000 attendees in our first year. I'm happy to go into a bit more detail about kind of the people who come to the event and exactly what we're trying to achieve is really to be a catalyst for innovation in the legal sphere. And starting with Europe, I think we're the first event that's really brought a European audience together, and some global involvement as well, which is partly why I'm here, because we want to play on that and increase the global presence at our event in London.
And Rui, I remember that Vitta joined a European event, not Legal Tech Talk, because it wasn't launched yet last year, and you were participating in Legal Geek, is that correct?
Yes, last year we were there, and it was a great experience for us, and we were representing the legal tech sector of Brazil for that event through AP12, yes, the Brazilian Legal Tech Association. What we saw is that there's a market, there's a global market for legal techs. So it's not just a UK market or a German market or US market or Brazilian, but we are talking about tech. Tech is universal. It's different it's legal is more local. We were talking before, but tech is universal. So we understand that we can do this movement that go from here, from Brazil to UK, and from there to open the doors to Europe and of course even other continents, other countries. So the idea was to go there to visit, to put to have the local touch of the thing, in Japanese they call the gemba, to touch the thing, to understand the problem, to understand the facts, and to plan for something bigger. And this thing bigger is actually, why not deliver our service direct from there, in the case.
And Joe, you've been a few moments here at Fenaló so far. This is the second day of the fair. What do you think of the Brazilian market going global? How have you experienced our people looking to the global sector?
Yeah, and I was just thinking that a minute ago. I think the vast majority of conversations that I've had while I've been here have, most of the vendors and the tech providers I've spoken to have been quite clear that they're only interested in the Brazilian market. And I appreciate that it's a really large market. And like we were talking about kind of legal versus tech. And I think if it's a compliance related matter, or if it's really about the law, it's quite a difficult product quite often to expand. But there's certainly some areas within legal tech that we can take international quite easily. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what you just...
Yes, yeah. We do believe that for legal design, for example, but it could be also for legal data analytics, for example. We were talking about algorithms, we were talking about mathematics at the end of the point. So that's quite universal. So
absolutely.
So we can have solutions from here playing there, or from China playing France, and and the other way around. So it makes sense
Yeah.
Or, for example, our biggest player here that we are connected, our biggest partner is Thomson Reuters. They're global.
Yeah.
And they're very global at legal sector. If you go to any fair, they are going to be there. You know, they have the presence, and they have products like HiQ. We use that. I love for as an international product, for example. So there's space for that.
It is, and I mean, I was most fascinated when I initially looked at the list of vendors who are partnering at this event. And normally, when I look at events globally, I'm very familiar with most of the companies. But when I looked at this list of companies, it was most of them were new to me. And it is like you're saying, you've got Thomson Reuters and you've got Net Documents and iManage and some of those big global players who are here. But the vast majority of the companies here are companies I'd never heard of before this trip.
They're more local.
Yeah.
But that's something particular about Brazilian market. It is like more particular in the legal market. There are a lot of local companies, but I think there's a movement and that like big players globally, they're looking this market. You know, we are talking about 100 million lawsuits in Brazil.
I know.
So
it's insane.
That's a like, huge thing to deal with. So that's a huge market to tap on that. We're talking about one of the 8 biggest economy in the world. So we also have a huge demand for contract automation, you know, for compliance platforms. So yes, there is like it's not so easy to come here because of the language. It's Portuguese, so it's already a language that's not like spoken not so many countries. The culture, that's something different, even from Latin America, like the only Portuguese speaking country. But there's the market. So if you come and understand the market, make the local alliance, there's like huge market for this kind of partnership. There's the same idea of us going there. The idea is make alliances there too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think right now we're talking about it, having international companies coming into Brazil. I think what we want to be a part of and why I'm here is to kind of support the Brazilian companies to come out into a global position. And I think considering the size and scope of the legal market here in Brazil, there must be so much that a lot of these companies can offer that is different and maybe perhaps better than what's happening outside of Brazil.
One practical question that I would have for you, and I think that would be of a lot of my colleagues here, my other vendors, is what's your insight about it? How do you see that? What you are like looking from outside, from your perspective, how a Brazilian company could do this? What would be your insight about it? I know there's like no right answer for that, but what would be your thoughts about it?
I think it is a really difficult question to answer, generally speaking, because it depends so much on the service that you're offering. But I think the first step is to be visible in other markets. So like I say, I didn't know most of the companies when I looked at the list from here. So I think one of the first things to do is get the brand, put the brand on the market elsewhere. And you went to Legal Geek last year. I think that's a great starting point. And then partnerships is probably a great way to scale if you're not in a position to kind of hire people on the ground in other countries.
Yeah, that's what we thought about too. They like looking for someone locally that do something that is similar or complementary. For you do. And Isabella had a great experience international too. She lived 1 year in Germany, Berlin, and share with us this your perspective of legal design in Europe. And you can do this better than us anyway, because she worked in both markets.
So my personal experience is that the legal design market in Europe is completely different from the legal design market in Brazil. So in Brazil, I think we're more hands-on and very delivery focused, while in the European market, what I feel is that people are more about the philosophy of legal design and design thinking than they are about the deliverables that they have. So and that's not even talking just about how Vitta does. This is how most companies will do legal design in Brazil. So that's the first comparison. And I also see Brazilian companies struggling well, financially, because it's geographically so far to go there, and then we have the currency issue. So coming to Brazil is not so impactful for global companies to do, but then going outside is something that has to be very thought out for most Brazilian companies, just because of that exchange rate. And then we also have a
Sorry, can I interrupt for 1 second there? The thing is, if a Brazilian company comes into that European market and, you know, generates 1 or 2 clients from it, that could massively impact their business.
Absolutely.
So it is about taking that step, and you need, I guess, some early success.
Yes.
And if that works, then you're flying as a Brazilian company.
Exactly. But in coming up with that like quick win strategy, it is quite tricky. And that brings me to my third point, which is like culture. So culture comes a lot into play, especially between like European countries and Brazilians. So we're very Latin American. This is very easy to do. Commerce with Latin America is much easier for us than I think it has been for me personally to do in the German space or the British space.
What about the Portuguese space? Because I mean, culturally, I think there's more difference between Portugal.
We do have our differences, I think. I think they owe us so much.
Yeah, we've touched on it. That's so topic. But I think a lot of companies that I have spoken to here who do have Europe on their radar, they're definitely starting with Portugal. And I don't know if that's more a cultural thing or more language thing.
No, language culture. I would be like, I would say cultural language aspects than business aspects, because Portugal is a small market, and for that market even smaller. But it's very related to that. More is, you know, well, I speak the same language. My grandfather was Portuguese and this kind of stuff. So it makes it easier to do this. A lot of Brazilians now live in Portugal.
There's a relationship
to that.
Yeah.
But for us, for example, when you look to Europe, our first market would be UK. Even, of course, there is the language difference, but okay, we want to be also in the center of the business where business done, you know, London, and not just London, but the UK legal system, we believe is one of the most international legal systems in the world, you know. So we have like claims that can you can address a claim between a German contractor and Chinese vendor, and they elect like the London as the court for that. So it's very international. The financial centers there, it's very open, and also the UK did a great job 10, 20 years ago, changing the regulation on the legal sector, and they have one of the most open one in the world, you know. So it's a good place to start for us.
Great. Yeah, and I think with your service offering, it's not so language orientated, which does make it a little bit easier than, you know, companies who are dealing with the wording rather than.
And it is totally possible. Imagine that you have a law firm there, like a big law firm or a law firm, and they want to develop a legal design area. We do have Brazil. Is the one thing of Brazil? We do have good design of things. It's Brazil. There's a general recognition of creativity, you know, design. We have the same Occidental mindset, so I believe it's easier to understand. And okay, you can do the plain language part. That's more language related at the law firm, and we can do the design part of it, you know, and we can assemble it together there. So it's totally possible, I believe.
Yeah, and Vitta is already used to doing projects in English, for instance. So it wouldn't be at first. We've done like bilingual documents in the past, and this is something that has been increased in quantity and quality by AI as well. But the business model that we use at Vitta is also very compatible with going global, because we always have a in-house lawyer or a counsel within the law firm that is our connection point. So they always will do the technical revision of it.
One thing that we didn't have the chance at Legal Geek, and other that we have been at Clock also in Las Vegas, that would be here one side about this that would be nice, Joe, that I imagine it could be very cool, is maybe from your side, that's like organizing the fair, for example, not just going to the fair and have a booth and or a space to speak. Space to speak is very important because it's when you give some authority also. Like you have the place, the space with the public.
Yeah,
And
it's your expertise.
yeah,
isn't it,
and
that you-
that's also, we had that on Clock. We didn't have on Legal Geek. It
Okay.
made a huge difference, for example,
Okay.
to show the case and be there with a client. But the
Can
other
I ask a question about that? What is more important for you when you are speaking at an event? Is it to demonstrate what your value proposition is? Or is it more important for you to speak from a subject matter standpoint alongside other people, for example, who know your product?
the second option.
Okay, so it's thought leadership rather than demonstrating.
No, not demonstrating. Like
Okay.
demonstrating people. If someone wants to know a thing, they look at the internet basically,
Yeah.
or they go to the booth or something. As they when they're at the conference,
Yeah.
no, unless you are showing GPT for the first time,
Yeah. The reason I asked that question is because
it's more about content, but
Yeah.
content related to use case. As always,
Yeah.
as always, for example, here we never do. I speak just ourselves. We always do with one or two clients and put them to talk about it, the thing, so people can relate more.
the reason I asked that question, so previous to working in legal events, I was working in a financial services portfolio. So it was similar, but for financial services. And over there, when we spoke about doing showcase sessions, tech showcases, it was really frowned upon from both people, the sellers and the buyers, because it was a very salesy opportunity. In the legal industry, we're finding that very different in the European market, in that people are curious. I think there's legal tech is still early enough stage that people are curious and interested about the new technology that's coming into the market. So we do offer our clients at the event the opportunity to do showcase sessions.
So
And
that's
they
good
were really, really well attended last year. It was to my surprise. But a lot of my clients answer differently to how you did. They want to demonstrate something. They want to show people what their technology.
Unless that you have this space for that.
Sure.
If you do have this space like concentrated for that, okay, that makes sense. So, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but in financial services, in that context, nobody would attend that space.
Okay.
But in the legal,
They did.
It was busy.
Here, if you do, like, for example, just a showcase like that would be less attended, for example. I don't know if the market is already like, I kind of already know the solutions. I would more like to know, okay, tell me how did it work somewhere, this kind of stuff, more than the demonstration. Unless, of course, we do the demonstration, but it's not so straight. We do through a use case. I always do the demonstration, but not like, is this how this platform works? It's much more like, look how GM have worked out this problem using that platform.
So it's highlighting the benefits that the platform
more than the usefulness, for example. But then I was talking one point that would be interesting. It would be interesting for us, for example. Okay, let's go there, but to help the local, for example, in talking about Brazilian companies, like an agenda, like before the fair, already have an agenda with local, how to connect, because you have like all the vendors of both sides. So you could like, how can you connect those guys, those people before the event? Because so we go there and we have the event, but also have like some business agenda on the event. That would be pretty cool, actually.
So I'm in conversation at the moment with AB2L, the
Brazilian legal text, yes.
Yeah. And so we're hoping to try and, through them bring some more partners over to the UK. And I think there are two things to highlight that we are trying to do exactly what you've just suggested and connect people in advance. So one is that we have some space available to some of our partners where they can arrange their own independent event around our event. So for anybody who does already have connections there, they can invite them. And then we would advertise that on our website as well, so that anybody who's coming to the event would have access to that. But the other thing that's really important about our event is our app that we use, that it enables our partners to filter the attendees by a whole host of data fields. and pre-schedule and pre-connect with those
That's really
people.
cool. That's nice.
So yeah, this year, in our first year, we had thousands of meetings that were arranged through that event app, and we had a space.
That's a
at
different.
the event.
That's something that's different.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and yeah, there was a space dedicated to those kind of. It's not speed networking because it's pre-organized, but they're 15-minute slots that you can go and meet people, and the app integrates that all into your kind of schedule. So that's another way that, you know, if there is a specific region, for example, that you're going to focus on initially, then you can filter out only the UK, for example.
Interesting.
And if you're only targeting law firms, you can filter that out as well.
And is that scheduled only during the event, or can you like schedule pre and post events as well?
So you can schedule the meetings in advance, but they all take place during the event time.
Because I think at the same time, it would make sense for whoever is coming from so far. We tend to extend our visit to Europe or like any foreign country because it takes us so long to get there.
Absolutely.
Might as well stay a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So making those connections in advance and then making most of the fair, not only going to the event, but also taking the opportunity to meet whoever is, like, for instance, already local in their law firms, or not only pre-scheduling, but also doing the meetings in advance, but also save you time and give the opportunity to enjoy the event.
Absolutely. And I think what the app would do is give you access to communicate with the people who are attending.
And from there
in
you will
advance.
open.
And then if you don't want to book a meeting at the event, then you can invite them for a coffee before, or you to your side event beforehand. So that's what I'm talking to Daniel about from AB2L, is that we have a pre-event, so the day before the event, while we're busy kind of setting the main ballrooms up and building all the stands and stages, then the Brazilian Legal Tech Association can have a separate room that they can have their own event, which we would also promote on the event platform or on our
and this is something we could do for Fenelon as well, because so many people travel from Brazil to São Paulo to be here.
Yeah, remember when I'm from Fortaleza. I live here for 20 years, but Fortaleza is 3,500 kilometers from here.
Yeah.
So it's basically, I think it's more from Berlin to London is less than that. Yeah. I remember that I have a client from Spain, from Barcelona, but they have a company here in Brazil, in Fortaleza. When we moved it to São Paulo, he had a joke is, why your law firm is in São Paulo? It's the same thing that I'm in Barcelona, your law firm is in Moscow.
Yeah.
So this is the distance.
Europeans will never. I come from South Africa, so I'm used to the vast landscapes and going away for a weekend, just jumping in a car for 3 hours and driving somewhere. In Europe, that's not a long way to go.
Yeah, one of our partners, he lives now in Dublin, and he said, well, every time that I have to drive about 1 hour here, everyone said, wow, 1 hour.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're like cross country.
Yeah. I think the pre-event, post-event, it's a very American thing. I think the events that I've been to in the States, I've been to Legal Week.
Okay.
Which is in New York.
I have been there too.
Yeah. And then ILTCon, I was at.
That's quite dated. Have you been Clock, Las Vegas?
I haven't, no.
Yeah,
that's not what I've been to.
But they do a lot of pre-events.
So many. Like every single sponsor at those events is organizing something on the side. And some of them are huge and some of them are really small, kind of tailored dinners and lunches.
But it's nice. Well, I think we are convinced about Legal Geek Talk.
Legal Tech Talk.
Legal Tech Talk. Oh.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah. Legal Tech Talk, and it would be great to be there next year.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to see you guys there. And I think the other thing that we do at the event, which I don't know if it would be relevant for you at the moment, but we do within the scope of the big event, we organize kind of more intimate sessions. So we can do targeted drink receptions and workshops and round tables. So if your target audience is really niche, then we wait until really near to our event. So we've got as many people registered for it as possible. And once the delegates have already kind of committed their time to be there, and then they realize that there's a session that's on a topic area that's very relevant for them, and they receive a personal invitation for that, they really like it. So for a lot of our partners, we're doing workshops and roundtables within the scope of the event.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Joe, for introducing us to Legal Tech Talk and our audience as well. Now you know of another legal event that you can attend, this time in London.
And again, when it will be?
It will be in June 2025 on the 26th and 27th of June.
So
Okay,
mark your
guys, so we
calendars.
have time to schedule, we have time
Yeah,
to
we'd love to
organize
see
to
you
be
as
there,
well.
and let's make this movement. Let's go there.
Great.
Amazing. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Joe.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Rui.
Thank you, Isabella.
E para
Thank you,
você
Joe.
que ficou até o final, aquele meu muito obrigada e até o próximo The Hub Talks.